Today, we are going to be using Copilot on an application that helps us better understand our wafer yields and bin maps. So to situate ourselves, let's begin by marking the lots with the lowest yield, along with the wafers with the widest yield distribution. Now let's also get an understanding of what the average yield across all of our lots is. I asked Copilot this and we found out that it is 70.86. Now, when I look at the stacked yield maps, it looks like there are issues around the edges of the wafer when it comes to yield. So I'm asking Copilot to show me what is the average yield by X coordinate. And we see, in fact, from this bar chart that there are issues at the edges of the wafers. Now, I also want to see maybe it's not just an issue of position, but maybe it's an issue of the lot that it is a part of. So I'm asking Copilot for a stacked bar chart to look at the count of bins per lot. And I can see here the distribution of different bins or the different qualities of dies in each lot. Now, the stacked bar chart is a bit difficult to fully dissect and report on, but thankfully I can ask Copilot to explain this visualization, and that will create a starting point for a report that is generated for me. So in that generated report, we'll see things like key observations, we'll see the prominence of certain bins, we can look at minima, maxima, trends, as well as recommendations for future analysis. Now, I want to go back to focusing on the position of the dies as maybe for a reason why there is lower yield. Rather than just looking at the X coordinate, I want to see if there is any relationship based on how far the die is from the center of the wafer. We don't currently have that data in our analysis, so I'm asking Copilot to quickly create a data function that will calculate that distance for us. So as you can see, Copilot creates not just the code, including the formula for calculating distance, but it also generates the input and output parameters for the Spotfire data function. So now I can go ahead and quickly hook that up with our X and Y coordinate columns. And rather than creating a data table, I want to create a column to be added onto our original data table. So in our data canvas, you can see that the data function is hooked up, and in our original data table, we now have that final column, distance from the center, added. So now I'm going to repeat creating that visualization. Rather than looking at yield by X, I want to look at yield by distance from the center of the wafer. And when we generate that, we see that on the left-hand side of the plot, that is actually the center of the wafer, and the right-hand side is the edges. So we see that there is not only an issue of yield at the edge, but also at the center of the wafer as well.